Hi everyone, this is Mr. Rodriguez, and today we are talking about how good readers jot what's going on. So I'm going to be reading a personal narrative called Ivan's Impact, and if you zoom out, you'll see that even though it's a page, there's going to be quite a bit of information for me to learn about this person's personal narrative. So as I read, I'm going to jot what's going on. Because if I just try to go through and read without stopping, I may forget what's going on or I may get lost. I know that's happened to me several times before. So as something important comes up, I'm going to highlight that important word. And once I realize what's going on in the situation, I'm going to jot it down in the margins so I don't forget, because we don't want to get lost while we're reading, and this is a good way for us to stay on track. So I'll do some examples and we'll go on from there. Personal narrative, Ivan's Impact. Living on the Florida Emerald Coast, one comes to view hurricane season as a common occurrence. It is not unusual for a family to have several full gas cans and an economy-sized pack of bottled water stored in their garage all summer. Many people could find the hurricane evacuation route in their sleep, since they often choose to follow it several times a year. However, those people are only the first kind of seasoned hurricane veteran. The second kind is the risk taker, the person who chooses to stick around when a storm rolls through. So already I'm going to highlight here hurricane season. I'm going to highlight this risk taker. And I'm going to highlight seasoned hurricane veteran. So there's a lot going on here. I feel like I'm kind of already getting a little lost, but all I'm going to write down is that hurricanes affect lives. And I'm telling myself that that is all of what's going on here, right? That's what the speaker is talking about, how hurricanes affect lives. And I see that because there's a bunch about hurricanes in this first half. Okay. Like so many others, my family is one that has never evacuated for a hurricane. However, my mom and I had our doubts when Category 4 Ivan was predicted to be right on our doorstep. On September 15, 2004, we left our home in the mandatory evacuation zone from my grandfather's house, just a few miles away. It was where we had stayed during every other hurricane without a hitch, but that was the night that our luck finally ran out. So I'm gonna highlight some things here. Luck finally ran out. So I know that something's different, right? And this mandatory evacuation, because it seems like this is a big deal and it's different from before. A tornado seriously damaged the house. My grandfather was upset, to say the least. In any case, I was determined to help him cope with the potential loss of his house by preserving the memories within it. So I'm going to highlight this potential loss because it seems like this family is torn apart by this storm, right? So I would say that the storm impacted his family. And that's in all this section here. So I can do just a little line curve so I know that this is all talking about that. So you see this really big paragraph. If I zoom out a little bit, I see that it just mentions how hurricanes affect lives and the storm impacted his family. Okay, I'll do one more paragraph. The three of us spent the early part of the evening watching the hurricane draw closer on the Weather Channel. And once the power went out, we listened to the radio's storm reports. Around 9 o'clock, I considered going to bed. The rain had stopped earlier and the wind had died down. The big bad hurricane seemed to have blown itself out. A few moments later, I was cowering in the hallway, sure that the walls were about to come down on top of me. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. Cowering, I want to highlight that because it tells me that this person was really scared. And big bad hurricane, because that seems really scary, really intense, right? A deafening roar shook the house. And I also want to highlight this deafening roar because it seems like this situation was really loud, really rough, and just really terrifying to be a part of. The tornado had ripped away the roof and carried it off. Slowly, a few spots on the ceiling began to drip, And over the course of an hour, those few spots multiplied until it seemed like the entire living contained an indoor rainstorm. So I think this may say living room. Actually, it may be a typo there. But I would say here rainstorm, right? And also ripped away the roof. So I know that this hurricane caused lots of damage, right? So that's all I'm going to say here is the storm caused physical and notice here, cowering. It didn't only hurt the house, it hurt kind of the way that the speaker was feeling. And emotional damage. Right? So this big paragraph here, if I just jot down what's going on, I see that the storm caused physical and emotional damage. And that's what this entire paragraph is focused on. So I know that this story has really long paragraphs. So doing this simple strategy to jot what's going on helps me stay focused, and I can really look back and see what was going on as I read this personal narrative. So now, if we read the next two paragraphs, we can see that if we focus on what's important and jot down what's going on, this big paragraph becomes much easier to handle, right? It becomes easier for us to focus on and easier for us to remember what's going on.